When I see your YouTube videos, I think this is the only way how this life worth living. The love of this life, what you are beaming, is the way how this life should be for fucking everybody who just wants it. Yeah, and I think that humanity is transforming, so this identified with it way of living is changing. It's like life has evolved, this conscious species, this self-conscious species, and then it takes time for that to evolve to not being that again. And if you just look at the media and if you look at what's happening with YouTube, you'll notice that this subject is becoming more and more accessible in the media. And more people are talking about it. And so eventually it'll filter into everyday language and it'll just become the norm. And then humanity will begin to change. If we don't kill ourselves first, there's always a possibility that we all kill ourselves because of climate change. Or Donald Trump. One or the other. But look around you, and I do not think of the cheerful ones around you. But on the personality structure, it's not about the personality structure. It's remembering that you're beyond the personality structure, that you aren't that. But I really get the sense, Open Eye Hun, that you need to do some therapy to calm your personality structure down. And that's not a criticism. Like some people might see that as a criticism, that therapy, I think that some people think that it's below them or that they're intelligent enough, but sometimes you need someone to reflect back to you the way in which you're seeing life and the way in which you're seeing things, to point out it's not true, and to sort of help get on top of some of those really uncomfortable past traumas, because I suspect that you're having traumas, some traumas triggered quite a lot when you're interacting with life. And so when those traumas come up, you're most probably experiencing quite intense feelings, and so you're seeing life as very negative. And so more than likely you have to deal with those traumas to an extent, just so they can settle down a bit and you can recognize what's actually happening biologically or biochemistry. I don't know, recognize how that's happening in your body and that coming up. And then through that settling down, then non-duality will become more and more present. It will be seen that who you are was never that personality structure. But if it's being triggered to the extent which I believe it is in you, then your mind's going to keep producing negative thoughts about the way life is. And if this non-duality here can be heard here, then it can be heard in any body mind mechanism. You know, by the time I was 16, I had eating disorders, and I was making myself sick up to 10 times a day. And luckily I managed to break that, but mentally I really suffered. I really suffered. And if I can see that with somebody that for years did that addiction, like you know, it's as intense. If you imagine, people don't understand bulimia, but it's like it's a drug addiction. It's about chemicals in your brain that are released when you're sick. And for me, it was that I had so much emotion in my body that I wasn't allowed to express at home, and I wasn't allowed to express or speak about. I was like a lot of my growing up, I wasn't able to exist because we had so much illness in our family. Like so my personality wasn't allowed to exist, so it just got stored in my tummy. And being sick was such a relief. It was like the tension, the sickness in the tummy came out. And then there's an addiction to that, to eating, the addiction to food, and then the addiction to throwing up. So, and by the time I was 20, I managed to get off that addiction and haven't done it again. I think when I was 22 or something, when I was really drunk, I made myself sick one time. You know, when you're really like ill. I can't remember. But and after that, then my eating began to balance out as well. Like I was so super lucky that I was open to healing. and that I didn't listen to what my society was telling me, that I couldn't do things, that people around me, even Buddhist teachers, that you can't do things, that you can't be free. And I was so determined. I knew from the moment I heard you've got to be in the moment, I knew that there was a presence, that there was something beyond everything. I just knew it with every part of myself. I knew what was being talked about. And if this personality can at such a young age deal with very, very difficult circumstances, very sad events, and really beautiful. Like, I was also born as a white woman that was pretty and very privileged in certain ways. If I could deal with all that and deal with being dyslexic and constantly told at school that I was a failure and I would never make anything, if I could deal with all that and see, then every personality can. Every personality can see. It's not that the personality sees it, but every body, mind can open up, can go beyond that personality structure and see that you're beyond that. And I still have to deal with the effects of my childhood. Like, I still have to deal with some traumas that I still have from that, and I still have to deal with personality traits that come from that. But just like everybody else, everybody's got their particular colouring. But I still have to deal sometimes with intense feelings. So I know that Open Eye Han, that story, that you're in that victim story, and you've got to be open to seeing beyond that, that it's not true, your victim story, and that you can see beyond that, and that you can go beyond it. But then knowing that it's not you that goes beyond it, it's just the you gets unpicked, and you remember this childlike freedom of who you truly are, which is total emptiness and fullness simultaneously. Okay, that's all of the question. He says, this is unfair, what you do with my questions, because I don't answer them all. I just only answer the first few lines. But just see that's a thought process that arises in you. Another body-mind mechanism that just heard me speaking to them and saying all of that might respond with, wow, that's so beautiful that she gave me the time and the attention. But your body-mind mechanism instantly produces, this is unfair. So therefore that's going to be your constant reality, that this is unfair. This is unfair. That's not true. But so Open Eye Han is insisting that I read over his question. But this is all traumas or all discomforts that's being triggered in you, that you're not being heard properly, that people don't hear you. You can't expect to write huge questions every week and me to read them all the time. How's that fair, Open Eye Han? See the beauty and the gift that you're getting. That you're loved. Don't look at that you're not loved because I didn't read half your question. Notice that you're loved because an answer came. Your mind looks at things in the wrong way. No, she didn't read my question, motherfucker.